A drill bit is a tool that's used to cut through or crush rock when drilling a well. Oil experts we've spoken to say that they can be rented for tens of thousands of dollars. National and local law enforcement agencies created the Oilfield Theft Task Force about 4 years ago after the FBI acknowledged that $72 million worth of theft had happened in the oil field in a 3-year span.
We're working on several cases right now that involve millions of dollars worth of theft.
Midland County Sheriff Gary Painter says that includes drill bits.
How often do you see that?
A lot. A lot of bits get stolen. A lot.
Oilfield experts tell CBS 7 News companies often leave several bits on location in order to give customers multiple options. But sometimes leftovers can come up missing.
People go around and sell equipment that's stolen. They'll steal bits. They'll even take a bit. They'll rework it. They'll rework the top of it and redo the serial number that's on it. But you can take that drill bit and put it on the end of a drill stem and run it in a hole and use it up before anybody knows that anything's missing.
Painter says hands are out of work and trying to pay the bills, and some will steal to get that done.
It'll happen. We're going to catch them.
Painter says to keep an eye on all of your equipment. Security is crucial right now, especially with oil prices in the 40s. With your eye on energy, Sarah Strackhouse, CBS 7 News. Since the beginning of the year, the number of oil rigs has fallen and slowly come back up. While now with talks of a deal with Iran and OPEC claiming that they are going to make changes, the oil prices are expected to fluctuate. CBS News states President Obama pushing for a deal with Iran would freeze Iran's nuclear development, but in turn other sanctions would be lifted, meaning Iran could flood the oil market. Elevation Resources CEO Stephen Pruitt says this would decrease oil prices, and the market is ready for it.
Oil market is up today, which means we already have digested the news that there's another 800,000 to 1 million barrels a day that will come on the market next year from Iran.
In addition to the Iran deal, most oil industry personnel are keeping an eye on the oil cartel OPEC, who recently said they may be willing to work with countries by slowing down production, leading to a boost in oil prices.
It would be if it did indeed happen and OPEC would, instead of producing 32 million barrels a day as it is now, it's cheating on its own quota. And if it produced 30 million barrels a day, the market would balance and we'd see big improvements in oil prices. But that's not likely to happen.
So what does this mean for the Permian Basin, an area heavily reliant on the oil and gas industry?
We do believe we'll get through it, but between now and when oil gets back to $60 a barrel sometime next year, we hope there's going to be more bankruptcies and more dislocation and more pain. Stay in the industry, stay in Midland, Odessa, and you will have the opportunity for healthy living. And in the meantime, hopefully we can improve our schools and our roads and our infrastructure, and the cost of living is coming back down to where it should be.
Pruitt says that eventually the low oil prices will correct itself, but in the meantime, he and other financial experts recommend conservative spending and saving. Reporting live with your eye on energy, Sarah Strackhouse, CBS 7 News. It's still hustle and bustle in many parts of West Texas, even with oil at $45 a barrel. But oil industry personnel say out on site, it's just a little bit different.
You got to follow the rules.
Not once, not twice,
Pallets, tarps.
more than 3 times, focus was brought up at the Permian Basin STEPS meeting, a meeting where oil industry personnel meet to talk about ways to keep their employees safe, especially as the holiday season nears.
People just aren't focused on the tasks that they're doing, and they're worried about paychecks or...
Safety managers all brought up the same issue of stress that they're seeing in the field, but without focus of doing something safely, the stress is a moot point.
If you don't remain focused on the job, you may not get it done safely. You may not be there for your family if you do something because you weren't focused.
Anthony Zagnuski is on the executive committee for the National STEPS organization and is a safety manager in the industry. He's one of many seeing the distractions firsthand.
We actually had a guy for our company step off the derrick because he forgot to tie one rope. You know, had he not tied the other rope, he wouldn't have been around for his family at all. Safety
specialist Wendy Tully is among the managers seeing changes with a skeleton crew.
So we're having some injuries, some first aid cases, just because they're not really, their mind's not on their task.
Of course, you got the holidays coming up. You've got right now, it's a really tough time to be in the oil and gas industry for most of our workers.
Gave pieces of advice for other managers in the industry. First, be out there with your company men in the field, keeping them focused and reminding them to stay on task. And second, make sure to take a personal interest in your company men. Ask how their families are, especially if someone is acting out of character. With your eye on energy in Midland, Sarah Strackhouse, CBS 7 News. After this explosion, loved ones should feel relieved. Sheriffs on site say they're shocked that only 2 walked away with minor injuries.
Big vibration and the smoke, it was way up there. I mean, way up there.
Miles away, oilfield workers could hear, see,
I'm in a 1-ton truck and it shook it.
and feel the gas explosion at the Ramsey Natural Gas Processing Plant north of Orla, operated by Anadarko.
Well, it's a terrible thing. It's in the oil industry.
Terrible, but the hundreds evacuated from the scene have much to be thankful for.
We're so glad that nobody got hurt. I mean, I heard there were some minor injuries. On something like this, that's great, because they could have easily had some casualties.
Anadarko says in a statement that all 200 workers on site were accounted for and all gas lines have been isolated. More than 5 different law enforcement agencies worked together from Texas and New Mexico to put the fire out.
That involved fire, and we have some combustibles, it's a hazardous material scene.
And luckily, we worked together good with New Mexico, and luckily they were here since they're closer.
Reeves County Sheriff Art Granado says that OSHA, as well as Anadarko and local law enforcement, will be investigating to try to find out how the fire started. Anadarko says that they're so thankful for how law enforcement responded and took care of their employees, and they said that the fire is completely contained. Reporting live in Reeves County, Sarah Strackhouse, CBS 7 News. In about a week, 250 vendors are going to be at the Midland Horseshoe Arena, all focused on making customers the most efficient possible. Right now, most companies are looking to cut costs in any way they can. And Danny Pilcher, who's the general manager of Roseland Oil and Gas, says they're hoping to help.
Talk about some of the issues that we face now, such as regulatory issues and, of course, the economy. And then we also will have training classes at our show to benefit our attendees.
Over video conference, Pilcher told us they've changed planning with the drop in oil prices.
And so some of the changes that we have made because of the economic conditions are, first of all, with pricing.
Roseland Oil and Gas, which is a marketing company, will be hosting the event in Midland for the first time ever on September 16th and 17th, and are expecting about 3,500 people.
Being at these shows, as far as attendees, they're able to see products and services that hopefully will improve their business. From the exhibitor standpoint, you know, when times are good, sometimes it's a challenge for them to have an opportunity to present their products and services to potential customers.
Pilcher says that there are still a limited number of spaces for vendors, and you can still get tickets to attend. All you have to do is visit CBS7.com for more information. Reporting in Midland, Sarah Strackhouse, CBS 7 News. The Mexico Initiative was created last summer by the Odessa Hispanic Chamber in order to bridge the gap between Texas and Mexico when it comes to oil and gas trade and production. With lower oil prices, the majority of companies in the Permian Basin are looking to save money. That was a key point of discussion when several small oil companies met with investors from Mexico last week in Odessa. Now, according to the chairman of Mexico Initiative, Raymond Chavez, companies across the border can make equipment much cheaper because their cost of labor is so much lower. He says many Mexican companies are making quality equipment with technology that matches the tools being imported into the basin,
which would allow our local service companies to perform the work at a lot less cost.
In addition to industrial trade, Chavez says that the visit had much to do with capital or cash flow.
Looking for acquisition, looking for investments, and looking for development. The only way that the smaller companies are going to drill is if they get some capital.
But with every large transaction, research is a must.
There's always a risk, no matter what. I mean, when you start drilling, there's a lot of risk.
Chavez says that the product samples are supposed to come into the area over the next few months, and negotiations with investors are still in the beginning stages. Now, we spoke to oil experts who all say make sure to do your homework and research Check your references and make sure to use caution. With your Eye on Energy, Sarah Strackhouse, CBS 7 News. In the conference call this morning, they primarily spoke about revenue and some plans for the future and cost cutting. What we really wanted to look into was how it affected the Permian Basin specifically. It's a large glass state-of-the-art building along I-20. The Schlumberger building signifies its presence here in the basin. But as the price of oil drops, changes have to be made.
This reduction, which will largely be completed by the end of the first quarter, will bring our headcount more in line with the currently anticipated activity level.
They say the necessity comes from OPEC changing focus from protecting oil prices to protecting market share. So now they're working on ways to more efficiently operate in the office and in the ground.
And we are actively working with our customers in all basins to help lower their overall drilling and completion costs.
Our partners at the Odessa American report that there were more than 2,500 Schlumberger employees here in the basin over the summer, but the number to be affected is still being processed, while rig counts continue to drop for everyone, including Schlumberger.
Dramatic fall in oil prices has already led to a reduction of around 400 rigs in U.S. land.
Schlumberger executives say they aren't releasing how much money is being saved by letting the 9,000 go and can't project when oil prices will go back up, only that they won't until supply goes back down. Schlumberger representatives have told us that the layoffs are supposed to be finished by the first quarter of this year, but the how many, when, and where they have not specified. With your Eye on Energy, Sarah Strackhouse, CBS 7 News. Heading down the street, you can see in local businesses, many still have packed parking lots. Chamber members say this has to do with being prepared. It's business as usual at Basin Burger, where owner Gabriel Gutierrez says the restaurant is thriving.
To make yourself more out there for people, I believe that you have to offer something that other people don't have.
With oil prices lowering, many expect less money going into restaurants and on goodies, but that's not necessarily the case.
I think businesses are much more cautious. They're looking at things a very different way. And certainly there's a recalibration of the business going on right now. So they know to make quick changes and quick adjustments and react promptly.
Susie Hitchcock Hall, who's had a seasonal business for 23 years, says it's about having a quality product and being smart about it.
Well, what you do is that you just reorganize whenever something hits like this. We're all in the oil business, even if we're making candy.
Between cost awareness with the burgers or candy lines, they say it's all a part of the cycle. Chamber members say that there's no way to predict when oil prices will go back up, but they say that staying prepared is a way to stay successful. Reporting in Midland, Sarah Strackhouse, CBS 7 News. City officials say they've already seen an increase of people sitting down here at this desk looking to apply for jobs. Like the city, many construction companies say they're seeing the effects of the layoffs and hour cutbacks in the oil field.
I've seen a great increase in just job applications coming in through our office.
It's a 10% increase.
For a while, it was real hard just to get employees to come to the office, but now it just, the door's open, come on down.
And now the equipment has the hands to work it. And it's not limited to construction companies.
And growing at a pace that is just unsustainable. Well, we were experiencing the same growing pains as most companies, with anywhere from 100 to 150 to 170 employees light that we really need for a full labor force.
Between new stores and infrastructure projects, the city and many companies have said now is time for catch-up.
Well, there's always pluses and minuses whenever you come to an economic cooling period, and kind of just slow down and take a breath.
It helps a lot, because I can string out the crews and do more jobs at the same time.
With your Eye on Energy, Sarah Strackhouse, CBS 7 News.